everyone, welcome to Learning Wind. How are you all? Hope you all are healthy and doing well in your studies. In the last video, we discussed what tissues are. On the basis of that, we can broadly classify tissues into plant tissue and the animal tissues. Plant tissues and its types are already discussed in the last video. Today, we will study only animal tissues in detail. We know that animals have millions and billions of cells. All must have different structure and functions. But the cells of similar structure and functions when came together to perform a single function, then the group of cells is called as tissues. In animals, tissues can be broadly classified into four categories. The first one is epithelial tissues. Second one is muscular tissue. The third one is connective tissue, and the last one is nervous tissue. We will discuss each one of them in detail. First, let's talk about the epithelial tissue. In this topic, tissues, there is not much to explain. So you have to memorize certain terms, structures and functions of the tissues. So we can study every tissue under three different titles, which is nature of the tissue, its occurrence, it means where it is found, and the function of the tissue, and also the types of the tissues if any present. Okay, in this way all the tissues can be studied and compared easily. So now first let's see the nature of the epithelial tissues. These are the simplest type of tissues in animals. It is the protective tissue of the animal body as epidermis of plants. You can compare it with the epidermis of plants. The cells of these tissues are tightly packed with each other and they form a continuous sheath. There are so many cells which are present in the form of a continuous sheath in these type of tissues. Cells of epithelium contain very little or no intercellular matrix at all. Okay. Now, the tissue covers most organs and cavities within the body. It also forms a barrier to keep different body systems separate. The skin and lining of the buccal cavity, blood vessels, alveoli in lungs and kidney tubules all are made up of epithelial tissues. Epithelial cells lie on a delicate non-cellular basement membrane which contains a special form of matrix protein which is called as collagen. So you have to keep in mind this term collagen. What it is? It is a type of a matrix protein. Matrix protein means a protein which is present in the matrix of the cell. Okay. Now, in this way you can see what epithelial tissues are, how do they look like and how does they behave. Now let's see the functions of the epithelial tissues. The cells of the body surface forms the outer layer of the skin. These cells protect the underlying cells from drying, injury and chemical effects. They also protect the body from viral or bacterial infection. Inside the body, epithelial cells form lining of mouth, alimentary canal and protect these organs. Epithelial tissues help in absorption of water and nutrients also. These tissues also helps in elimination of the waste products. And some epithelial tissues perform secretory functions. It means they secrete some ingredients or enzymes, you can say. They secrete a variety of substances such as sweat, saliva, enzymes, etc. There are so many types of epithelial tissues depending upon their structure. The first one is the squamous epithelium. This is the simplest kind of epithelial tissue. The second one is a stratified squamous epithelium. We will discuss everything in detail. You just memorize the terms just for now. Okay. So first one is squamous epithelium. The second one is a stratified squamous epithelium. The third one is the cuboidal epithelium. Some epithelial cells which are cuboid in shape are called as cuboidal epithelium. The fourth one is the columnar or glandular epithelium. Both are same actually. Something is different, we will discuss it later. And the last one is the ciliated epithelium. Epithelium which has cilia present on them. Okay, so these are the 5 types of epithelial tissue. You have to memorize the names of each of them. Okay, so first one is squamous epithelium, stratified squamous epithelium, cuboidal epithelium, columnar and ciliated. Okay, when we will discuss each and every one of them in detail now, so you will be able to understand what it is and what are the functions of each and every type of epithelial tissue. So let's first discuss about the squamous epithelium. Again, we will discuss each of the tissues under three categories: their nature, occurrence and function. So let's first talk about the nature of the squamous epithelium. Squamous epithelium is made up of thin, flat, irregular shaped cells which fit together like floor tiles to form a compact tissue. Squamous epithelium is also known as tessellated or pavement epithelium. You have to keep in mind these two terms, that it is also known as tessellated or pavement epithelium. Now the occurrence, where this squamous epithelium has been found. So it forms the delicate lining of cavities. Cavities like mouth, esophagus, nose, pericardium, alveoli, etc. So you can say that the lining of all these organs are made up of squamous epithelium tissue, which is the simplest kind of epithelium tissue. It is also present in the blood vessels and covering of the tongue and skin. Now let's see the functions of squamous epithelium tissues. So this epithelium protects the underlying parts of the body from mechanical injury, entry of germs, chemicals and drying. It also forms a selectively permeable surface through which filtration occurs. So it has basically two functions. First, protection from so many things, and the second one is filtration. Now let's talk about the second type of squamous epithelium, which is stratified squamous epithelium. This is somewhat similar to the squamous epithelium. The only difference is that in the case of squamous epithelium, only one layer of cells is present. Whereas in a stratified squamous epithelium, as you can see in this diagram also, so many squamous epithelium are arranged in layers. When the cells of the squamous epithelium tissues are arranged in layers, then you can say that a stratified squamous epithelium has been formed. If we talk about how this stratified squamous epithelium looks like and how does it behave, so you can see that the cells of these tissues are arranged in many layers, as I have already told you, and cells forming different layers of this epithelium are not similar. They are different from each other. Here also you can see that the deeper layers of this tissue have cuboidal cells, which looks like cuboid in shape. Here you can see that the deeper layer of tissues are cuboidal cells, which become polygonal and finally flatten towards the free surface. The deeper layers are somewhat cuboidal in shape, they looks like cuboid, but as you move upwards, these cells become somewhat flattened and polygonal in shape. The flattened cells of superficial layer contain a fibrous protein which is called as the keratin. And these keratin are dead cells and these are present somewhat at the superficial layer, somewhat here. Okay. Horny scale-like remains of dead squamous cells ultimately flakes away. This epithelium is waterproof and highly resistant to mechanical injuries. And if we talk about the occurrence of a stratified squamous epithelium tissue, so you can find it under our skin. Mainly it is found in our skin. Now next type of epithelium tissue is cuboidal epithelium. As its name suggests, it consists of cube-like cells which are square in section, but the free surface appears hexagonal in shape. Here you can see in this picture, these are cube-like structures. Here this is one cube, second cube. So many cube type of cells are arranged in rows and they form the cuboidal epithelium. These cuboidal epithelium tissues are found in kidney tubules, thyroid vesicles and in glands such as salivary glands, sweat glands, exocrine pancreas, etc. And it forms the germinal epithelium of gonads. Gonads means these are your gamete producing organs. These are your sex organs, which are testes and ovaries. Testes in males and ovaries in females. So these type of epithelium tissues are also present in your gonads. Now let's see the function of epithelium tissues. So mainly they helps in absorption, excretion and secretion. And it also provides the mechanical support to so many organs. So they have just 4 to 5 functions. So you have to keep in mind all these functions. Now our next type of epithelium tissue is columnar epithelium tissue. As you can see in the picture also, the columnar epithelium consists of cells which are taller than broader. It means their length is more than their width. So they become somewhat pillar-like in a structure. The nuclei are towards the base. And sometimes the free ends of cells have brush border containing microvilli. So they sometimes have microvilli present in them, and most of the time the nucleus are present at the base. Here you can see this red structures. These are the nucleus. They are present towards the portion which is broader. Some nuclei are present here and some are here towards the base of our pillars, or you can say columns. Mostly they occurs in the lining of stomach, small intestine and colon, which forms the mucous membrane. You have heard about this, that the mucous membrane is present in your stomach. It prevents your stomach from degradation due to the HCl present in the stomach. So mainly the mucous membrane in your stomach, small intestine and colon, it is made up of your columnar epithelium tissues. It also forms the lining of gallbladder and oviducts and facilitates movement across the cells. Its main function include absorption in the organs such as stomach and intestine, secretion in mucus by goblet cells or mucous membrane. Absorption and secretion are the main functions of the columnar epithelium tissues. I have told you that the columnar epithelium tissue and glandular epithelium tissue, they both are quite similar to each other. The only difference is that the columnar epithelium tissues, when modified to form glands which secretes chemicals, then you can say these are glandular epithelium tissue. Both are same. Only the difference is that in simpler columnar epithelium tissue, no secretion of chemicals takes place. But in the case of glandular epithelium, secretion of chemicals takes place, and then the columnar epithelium tissues get modified into glandular epithelium. The structure, function and everything is quite similar to each other. Our last type of epithelium is the ciliated epithelium tissue. Certain cuboidal or columnar cells have a free border which bear thread-like cytoplasmic outgrowths which are called as cilia. This term cilia you must have heard when you were studying the microorganism like Parenchymn. They have cilia on the surface which are somewhat thread-like in structure. Here also some thread-like structure are present at the surface of cuboidal or columnar epithelium tissues. And when the cilia are present, you can say that this has become modified and forms the ciliated epithelium tissues. The ciliated cuboidal epithelium tissues are mainly found in your sperm ducts. It is also found in the lines of trachea. Trachea is also known as windpipe. It has a pipe-like structure which connects your nasal chamber to your lungs. So it is also made up of ciliated epithelium tissues. Other than that, bronchi, which is present in your lungs, your kidney tubules and oviducts. All these structures also have ciliated epithelium tissues. The rhythmic concerted beating of the cilia moves solid particles such as bacteria, sand particles or other impurities which are present in the environment. It moves those solid particles in one direction through the ducts. So this was our last type of epithelium tissue. We have discussed the 5 types of epithelial tissues, their nature, where they are found, their structure and their function. Now let's move on to our next type of animal tissue, which is the muscular tissue. It is one of the most important kind of tissues, as the muscles which are present in our body through which we can do all the voluntary actions. All these functions which we perform voluntary or involuntary are dependent upon the muscles and which are formed by the muscular tissues. The muscle tissues or muscles of the body forms the contractile tissue and are made up of muscle cells. Muscle cells are elongated and large size, and because of their this much of length, they are also called as muscle fibers. The movement of body or limbs are brought about by the contraction and relaxation of contractile proteins which are present in muscle cells. All the muscles which are present in our body are made up of this muscular tissue. So you can say that all the organs including heart, alimentary canal, they are also made up of your muscular tissues. Muscle cells are typically arranged in parallel arrangement, allowing them to work together effectively. Since the muscle cell forms the organs, so you can say that the movement of internal organs is also carried out by these type of muscular tissues. So all the voluntary functions and involuntary functions occurring in our body are due to the muscular tissues. The movement of limbs also takes place due to the muscular tissues. On the basis of their location, structure and function, the muscular tissues are basically of three types. The first one is your striated muscles. They contain striations, means dark and light bands are present. The second one is the smooth muscles. They do not have any dark or light bands. And the last one is cardiac muscles, which makes your heart. Your heart is made up of cardiac muscles. So three types of muscular tissues are present: striated, smooth and cardiac. Now let's first talk about the striated muscles. Striated muscles are also known as stripped muscles. Since the entire muscle fibers show alternate dark and light strips, or you can say striations or bands, that's why they are called as stripped muscles. They are also called as skeletal muscles because they are attached to the bones and are responsible for the body movements. That's why they are called as skeletal muscles. Another name for striated muscles is voluntary muscles because these muscles works according to our will. That's why they are called as voluntary muscles. The striated muscle fibers or cells are long or elongated, non-tapering. Non-tapering means they are not pointed towards their end. They are somewhat flattened or blunt. They are cylindrical and unbranched. You can see that no branches are present here. Only one cylindrical structure you can see. Only the fibers are there and no branching is there. That's why these are unbranched. These cells have number of nuclei. That means you can say that these are multinucleated. That means many nucleus are present in the cells. Each muscle cell is enclosed in a thin but distinct plasma membrane, and that membrane is called as sarcolemma. Every cell has cell membrane, but the cell membrane present in striated muscles are called as sarcolemma. Its nuclei are peripheral in position. Peripheral means nuclei are located just beneath the sarcolemma. They are present somewhat near to the plasma membrane. In the sarcoplasm or cytoplasm, you can say, the muscle cells are embedded large number of contractile elements, and these contractile elements are called as sarcostyles or myofibrils. Basically, these striated muscles occur in the muscles of limbs. It means in your biceps or triceps of arms, body wall, face, neck and etc. These are also present in your tongue, pharynx, diaphragm and the upper part of esophagus. You can say that each of your organ present in your body, if it works according to your will, then that organ striated muscles are present. It is as simple as that. Now if we talk about the function of striated muscles, since these striated muscles are very powerful and can undergo rapid contraction, so they can get tired very easily. And after some time they regain their energy and become again powerful and can handle any work. Striated muscles provide the force for locomotion and all other voluntary movements of the body. Every organ which can perform as per your will, you can say that striated muscles are present in that organ, or that organ is made up of the striated muscles. Now our second type of muscles is smooth muscles. Smooth muscles are also called as unstriated muscles because no dark or light bands or no strips are present in these type of muscles. They are visceral muscles and are involuntary. Involuntary means they do not work as per our will. They are not in our control. We cannot move those organs which are made up of smooth muscles on our will. Smooth muscles occur as bundles or sheets of elongated fusiform or spindle shaped. Spindle shaped or fusiform means they must be pointed at both the ends. So these are made up of spindle shaped cells or fibers. These are held together by loose connective tissues. Each muscle cell is enclosed in a plasma membrane. It means plasma membrane is present in these cells. There is a single centrally located cigar-shaped nucleus in the center of the cytoplasm. In the case of striated muscles, what you have seen, that the nucleus is peripheral. It is present in the periphery of the cell. It means near the cell membrane. But in the case of smooth muscles, the nucleus is present at the center of your cell. And the structure of the nucleus is somewhat cigar-shaped. And the most important thing is that these cells are uninucleated. Uninucleated means uni means one and nucleated means nucleus. So they have only one nucleus present in each cell. Whereas in unstriated muscle, it was multinucleated. Many nuclei were present. The reason behind the presence of many nucleus is that they need excessive energy because they have to perform many powerful functions. But in the case of smooth muscles, they do not have to perform that kind of functions. So they need only one nucleus. So these are uninucleated. They are delicate contractile threads called myofibrils. They run longitudinally throughout the cell. So here you can see in the picture also these long striations you can see, long fiber like structures you can see in these cells. These fiber like structures are called as myofibrils. These fibrils do not bear any bands, strips or striations across the muscle. Hence they are called as the smooth muscles or unstriated muscles because no such striations or bands you can see. The smooth muscles are found in the walls of hollow or tubular visceral organs except the heart. All the visceral organs are formed by the smooth muscles except heart, because heart is made up of another type of muscular tissue which is called as cardiac tissue. We will discuss that later, but here you have to remember that all the visceral organs whose movements does not depend on our will are made up of smooth muscles except our heart. And that's why they are also called as visceral muscles, because visceral organs are made up of smooth muscles. That's why these muscles are also known as visceral muscles. They occur in the walls of alimentary canal and internal organs, ducts of glands, urogenital ducts and blood vessels. Smooth muscles are also found in stomach, intestine, ureter, bronchi, iris of eye and many other visceral organs. Now let's see the functions of the smooth muscles. So since they do not work according to our will, they are also called as involuntary muscles. And movement of food in the alimentary canal, opening and closing of tubes are all involuntary movements and hence controlled by these muscles. Smooth muscles contract slowly but can remain contracted for a long period of time, unlike these striated muscles. And due to this fact, smooth muscles cause the characteristic peristaltic movements in the tubes. Peristaltic movements are the rhythmic progressive waves of muscular contraction and relaxation. Contraction and relaxation. This movement is called as peristaltic movement. Such wave-like peristaltic movements occur in gastrointestinal tract and male genital tract. In some organs, smooth muscles contract throughout the organ to produce extrusive movements, as in the urinary bladder, the gallbladder and the uterus. Now, our last type of muscular tissue is the cardiac muscles. Cardiac muscles show characteristic of both smooth muscles as well as the striated muscles. Cardiac muscles are composed of branched fibers and the branches join to form a network. Each fiber or cell is surrounded by sarcolemma. Sarcolemma, as I have already told you, it is the cell membrane of the muscular tissues. So it contains sarcolemma, cytoplasm with longitudinal myofibrils as they were present in the smooth cells. Similarly, myofibrils are also present in the cardiac muscles and a centrally located nucleus. Centrally matlab only one nucleus is present. It means it is also uninucleated. The intercellular spaces of cardiac muscles are filled with abundant loose connective tissue supplied with blood capillaries. Cardiac muscles have strips of light and dark bands. Like these striated muscles, they also have light and dark bands. And the cardiac muscles mainly occur in the heart. That means walls of heart are made up of the cardiac muscles. Cardiac muscles contract and relax rapidly, rhythmically and tirelessly throughout a lifetime. They contract endlessly from early embryonic stage until the death. The contraction and relaxation of the heart muscles help to pump and distribute blood to various parts of our body. So this is the main function of your cardiac muscles. Now our third type of animal tissue is the connective tissue. As its name suggests, it is specialized to connect and anchor various body organs. The cells of connective tissues are living, separated from each other. It means they are loosely spaced and they are low in number. Homogeneous, gel-like intercellular substance called as medium or matrix form the main bulk of connective tissue. The tissues can connect bones to each other, muscles to bones, bind tissue, and can also give support to various parts of the body by creating a packing around organs. The packing would prevent the organs from getting displaced by body movements. Thus, the main function of connective tissues are binding, supporting, and packing together different organs of the body. The cells of connective tissues are living, separated from each other, that means they are loosely spaced and they are low in number. A homogeneous gel-like intercellular substance, which is called as medium or matrix, form the main bulk of the connective tissue. Thus, space between cells is filled with a non-living matrix which may be solid as in bone and cartilage and fluid as in blood. Matrix is fibrous in nature and binds other tissues. In fact, the nature of matrix decides the function of the connective tissue. Connective tissues are almost found everywhere in your body. The main functions of the connective tissues are binding, supporting, and packing different organs of the body together, as I have already told you. Connective tissues contain the following types of cells. First one is fibroblast. They form ground substance and fibers, example collagen. So collagen is made up of fibroblast. Second is adipose cells. They store fats and lipids in their vacuoles. The third one is macrophages. These may be free moving or fixed phagocytes, leukocytes or WBCs. They are involved in the destruction and removal of invading bacteria, foreign body and damaged cells from tissues. The fourth one is the mast cells. They secrete substances such as heparin. Heparin is the anticoagulant. It means it prevents our blood to get coagulated when it is present inside our body. Histamine, it is a vasodilator, and serotonin, it is vasoconstrictor. They promote inflammation in the infected areas. And the last type of cells is immunocytes. These include cells such as lymphocytes and plasma membrane, both producing antibodies for the immune response. They are kind of the soldiers of our body which prevent us from the foreign invading bacteria and viruses. Connective tissues are also of so many types. The first one is areolar connective tissue. The second one is the dense regular connective tissue. The third one is the adipose tissue. Fourth one is the skeletal tissue, and the last and the fifth one is the fluid connective tissue. So connective tissues are basically of 5 types: areolar connective tissue, dense regular connective tissue, adipose tissue, skeletal tissue, fluid connective tissue. We will discuss each one of them in detail. So let's discuss first the areolar or loose connective tissues. As its name suggests, this tissue is a loose and cellular connective tissue. Its matrix consists of 2 kinds of fibers. The first one is white collagen fiber, which changes into gelatin on boiling in water, and the second one is the yellow elastic fiber or elastin. Also scattered in matrix and several kinds of irregular cells, example fibroblasts, some of which can engulf bacteria and prevent infection, such as macrophages. Mostly these areolar or loose connective tissues joins skin to muscles, fills spaces inside organ, and it is found around muscles, blood vessels and nerves. It acts as a supporting and packaging tissue between organs lying in the body cavity. Matrix of this tissue is important in diffusion of oxygen and nutrients from small blood vessels. It helps in repair of tissues other than injury. It also helps in combating foreign toxins. It fixes skin to underlying muscles. Now, our second type of connective tissue is dense regular connective tissue. It is a fibrous connective tissue. It is characterized by ordered and densely packed collection of fibers and cells. Dense regular connective tissue is the principal component of tendons, ligaments and aponeurosis. Let's first talk about the tendons. These are the cord-like, strong, inelastic structures that joins skeletal muscles to bones. A tendon is a white fibrous tissue which has great strength but limited flexibility. It consists of parallel bundles of collagen fibers between which rows of fibroblasts, which are called as tendinocytes, are present. Collagen fibers are bounded by areolar connecting tissue. Now let's see the ligaments. So they are elastic structures which connect bones to bones. A ligament is highly elastic and has great strength but contains very little matrix. In ligament, some elastic and many collagen fibers are bound together by areolar connective tissue. Fibroblasts are compressed in between regular rows of fibers. Ligaments strengthen the joint and permit normal movement but prevent overflexing or overextension. Sprain is caused by excessive pulling or stretching of the ligaments. So you can see that the tendons were inelastic whereas the ligaments are elastic. The tendons join muscles to bones whereas the ligaments joins bones to bones. Tendons were made up of the white fibers whereas ligaments are made up of the white as well as the yellow fibers. So these are the differences which you also have to keep in mind. Now our last type of dense regular connective tissue is aponeurosis. These are broad sheet of dense fibrous collagenous connecting tissues that cover, invest and forms the termination and attachments of various muscles. Our next type of animal tissue is the adipose tissue. Adipose tissue is basically an aggregation of fat cells or adipocytes. Each fat cell is rounded or oval in shape and contains a large droplet of fat that almost fills it. The fat cells are arranged into lobules separated by partitions of collagen and elastic fibers. These partitions carry blood vessels of lobules. The adipose tissue is abundant below the skin, between the internal organs and in yellow bone marrow. So these are the three places where you can find the adipose tissue most. The functions of adipose tissue is that mainly it serves as a fat reservoir, provides shape to limbs and the body, keeps visceral organ in position, it forms shock absorbing cushions around kidneys and eyeballs. They also act as an insulator and being a poor conductor of heat, it reduces heat loss from the body. It means it also regulates the body temperature. Our fourth type of animal connective tissue is our skeletal tissue. The skeletal or supporting tissue includes cartilage and bone which forms the endoskeleton of a vertebrate body. The skeleton of all the vertebrates are made up of cartilages and bones. First talk about the cartilage. So the cartilage is a specialized connective tissue which is compact and less vascular. It has widely spaced out cells. Its extensive matrix is composed of proteins and is slightly hardened by calcium salts. Its matrix is produced and maintained by the chondrocytes. Matrix is solid, cheese-like and firm but also slightly elastic. This accounts for its flexible nature. The matrix of cartilage has a delicate network of collagen fibers and living cells which are called as chondrocytes. Chondrocytes are present in fluid-filled spaces which are called as lacunae. Blood vessels are absent in the matrix. Chondrocytes multiply by mitosis and help in internal growth of cartilage. Thus, cartilage is capable of continuous and rapid growth. Cartilage is located in ear pinna, nose tip, epiglottis, invertebral disc, end of long bones, lower ends of ribs and the ring of trachea, which means windpipe. Its main function is to provide support and flexibility to the body parts. It also smoothens the surfaces at the joints. Now let's come to the bone. So a bone is a very strong and non-flexible tissue. Like cartilage, bone is a specialized connective tissue. It is porous, highly vascular, mineralized, hard and rigid. Its matrix is composed of proteins like osteonectin, osteocalcin, proteoglycan and collagen. Matrix of bone is rich in salts of calcium and magnesium such as calcium phosphate, magnesium phosphate, calcium carbonate and magnesium carbonate. These minerals are responsible for the hardness of the bone. The matrix of bone is in the form of a thin concentric rings called lamellae. Bone cells are called as osteoblasts or osteocytes. They are present between the lamella in fluid-filled spaces called lacunae. All the lacunae of the bone communicate with each other by a network of fine canals which are called as canaloculi. Each canaloculus is filled with delicate cytoplasmic process of the bone cell. Through canaliculi, each bone cell of each lacuna receives food and oxygen and eliminates wastes. Bone mainly forms the endoskeleton of human beings and other vertebrates except the sharks. It serves many functions, like it provides shape to the body, it provides skeletal support to the body, it protects the vital organs such as brain, lungs, heart, kidney, etc. It serves as a storage site of calcium and phosphate. It also anchors the muscles. Now let's come to the last type of connective tissue, which is fluid connective tissue. Fluid connective tissue links the different parts of the body and maintains a continuity in the body. It mainly includes blood and the lymph. Blood is a fluid connective tissue. In this tissue, cells or corpuscles, cells are also called as corpuscles, so move in a fluid or liquid matrix or a medium which is called as blood plasma. The blood plasma does not contain protein fibers but contains cells called as blood corpuscles or blood cells. These blood corpuscles or cells are RBCs, which are also called as erythrocytes or red blood corpuscles, WBCs, white blood cells, or also called as leukocytes, and the last is platelets. RBCs and WBCs are living, while plasma and platelets, they are non-living. Plasma forms 55% of total volume of blood. It is a complex fluid and contains inorganic salts and organic compounds. Organic substances of plasma are soluble in proteins such as albumins, globulins, fibrinogens, glucose, amino acids, lipids, vitamins, enzymes, hormones, and waste materials. Red blood corpuscles are large in number and have iron containing red respiratory pigment which is called as hemoglobin. The erythrocytes of most vertebrates are oval shaped, nucleated, and biconvex. However, erythrocytes of mammals are circular, biconcave, disc-like, and lack nuclei. In this way, mammalian erythrocytes have the increased surface area for gaseous exchange and they accommodate much more hemoglobin in them than RBCs of other animals. Erythrocytes play a vital role in the transport of oxygen. White blood cells are of two main kinds, phagocytes and immunocytes. Phagocytes are capable of phagocytosis and they carry out the function of body defense by engulfing bacteria and other foreign substances. Phagocytes are of two types, granulocytes which have irregular shaped nuclei and cytoplasmic granules with specific staining properties. They include neutrophils, basophils and eosinophils. The second type is agranular leukocytes which have no cytoplasmic granules and include the monocytes. Monocytes have a large nucleus indented on one side and large amount of cytoplasm. They ultimately migrate to body parts and transform into macrophages and histiocytes. Immunocytes produce antibodies and are involved in the immune response. They include lymphocytes which have a nearly spherical nucleus and little cytoplasm with no granules. Some lymphocytes later on transform into plasma cells. Blood platelets are minute, anucleated, it means no nucleus is present in blood platelets. They are fragile fragment of giant bone marrow cells which are called as megakaryocytes. Blood occur in blood vessels called arteries, veins and capillaries which are connected together to form the circulatory system. The extensive branching network of vessels enables blood to reach every part of the body. The main functions of blood are it transports the nutrients, hormones and vitamins to the tissues and transport excretory products from the tissues to the liver and kidney. The RBCs carry oxygen to the tissues for the oxidation of foodstuff. The white blood cells or WBCs fight disease either by engulfing and destroying foreign bodies or by producing antitoxins and antibodies that neutralize the harmful effects of germs. The blood platelets disintegrate at the site of injury and helps in the clotting of the blood. Our second type of fluid connective tissue is lymph. Lymph is a colorless fluid that is filtered out of the blood capillaries. Since it is a part of blood, its composition is similar to that of blood except that red blood cells and some blood proteins are absent in it. In the lymph, white blood cells are found in abundance. The main function of the lymph is to transport the nutrients such as oxygen and glucose that may have been filtered out of the blood capillaries back into the heart to be recirculated in the body. It also brings carbon dioxide and nitrogenous waste from tissue fluids to blood. Being loaded with WBCs such as lymphocytes, the lymph protects the body against infection. It forms the defense or immune system of the body. Our last type of animal tissue is the nervous tissue. Nervous tissue is a tissue which is specialized to transmit messages within our body. Brain, spinal cord and nerves all are composed of nervous tissues. Nervous tissue contains highly specialized unit cells called as nerve cells or neurons. Neurons have the ability to receive stimuli from within or outside the body and to conduct impulses to different parts of the body. The impulse travels from one neuron to the another neuron. Each neuron has mainly three parts. The cytone, which is also called as cell body, which contains a central nucleus, and cytoplasm with characteristic deeply stained particles called as Nissel's granules. This is the cell body. The second part is the dendrons, which are short processes arising from the cytone and further branching into dendrites. So these are the dendrons. These branched like structures are called as the dendrons. And the last part of a neuron is the axon. It is a single long cylindrical process of uniform diameter. It forms fine branches terminally. Each such twig-like branch of axon ends in a swollen structure called as synaptic knob. Synaptic knob contains acetylcholine filled vesicles. Acetylcholine is an important neurotransmitter. Neurotransmitter is a substance that plays an important role in the transmission of nerve impulse within the nervous system. Axon is also called as nerve fiber, so you have to keep in mind. And this branch, this structure, one of the dendrite become elongated to form the axon. This is the axon, and this is the terminal portion of the axon through which other neurons can combine and forms a large network of nervous tissues or fibers. Mainly the nervous tissues or these neurons are present in brain, spinal cord and your nerves. The main function of the nervous tissue is that the dendrites receive impulses and the axon takes impulses away from the cell body. What does it mean? That if anything happens to my hand, then the impulse generated in the hand gets transferred to the brain and the brain transfers an impulse to the organ so that I can remove my hands from a position which is not favorable for my skin or my other organ. Now before ending the video, I would like you all to revise all the type of animal tissue once again. So we all know that the animal tissues are of basically four types. The first one is the epithelial tissue. Epithelial tissue again is divided into 4 or 5 types. The first one was the squamous epithelium. The second one was the stratified squamous epithelium, which is made by the layering of this squamous epithelium tissues. The third type is the cuboidal epithelium tissue, in which the cells are in the form of a cuboid. Fourth one is the columnar or glandular epithelium tissue, where the cells are in the form of columns or pillar-like. And the last type of epithelial tissue is the ciliated epithelium. Columnar or cuboidal, having cilia at their surfaces, forms the ciliated epithelium tissue. So first type of the animal tissue is epithelial, which is again further divided into 5 types: squamous, stratified, cuboidal, columnar and ciliated. Now the second type of animal tissue is our muscular tissue. Muscular tissue is again divided into 3 types. The first one is striated muscles, the second one is the smooth muscles and the fourth one is the cardiac muscles. Striated muscles are the voluntary muscles which works as per our will. Smooth muscles are involuntary muscles. They are present in the organs which do not work as per our will. And the cardiac muscles forms our heart. Only the heart is made up of the cardiac muscles. Now, the third one is the connective tissue and the last one is the nervous tissue. Connective tissue is one of the most important type of nervous tissue because it has so many types and the types again are differentiated into different types. So, connective tissue are basically of 5 types. The first one is areolar connective tissue, second is dense or regular connective tissue, the third one is adipose tissue, the fourth one is skeletal tissue and the last one is the fluid connective tissue. Areolar connective tissues are the loose connective tissues and basically they provide support to the organs. Dense regular connective tissues are further again divided into 3 types: ligaments, tendons and aponeurosis. Tendons joins muscles to bones. Ligament joins bones to bones. Adipose tissues are the fat storing tissues. Basically, they store fat under our skin. Now the skeletal tissue, it means they form the skeleton of our body. So they are of two types. The first one is bone and the second one is cartilage. Bone is hard tissue and cartilage is soft bone. And last is the fluid connective tissue. Fluid connective tissue means something which is fluid. Connective tissue which is liquid. And this is again further divided into two types. The first one is blood and the second one is lymph. The blood contains RBCs and lymph does not contain RBCs. That is the major difference between bone and lymph. The nervous tissue, which is made up of neurons, the unit cells are called as neurons. It is basically present in our brain, spinal cord and nerves, and the main function of nervous tissue is to transmit the messages from brain to the organs and from organs to the brain. So this was a summary of all the tissues which we studied till now. I hope you understood it well. Even if now you have any doubts, you can ask me anytime. I made this video in complete English. If any student has any doubt and if anyone doesn't understood it and want me to make a video in Hindi also, I will make it. If you have any doubt, you can ask me anytime. So that's all for today. Now we will meet in our next video. Till then, take care, be healthy, be creative, keep learning, keep studying. Bye-bye.